Hey everyone, Jamie here from TechnicalCafe.com, and in this tutorial, we're going to be using Bootstrap to build a pretty basic personal portfolio style website, like the one that we see here. So we're going to have an image, our name, some social links, some header text up at the top here, as well as a body section where we can put text or images or any other HTML elements that we'd like. So in order to do this, let's jump over to our text editor here and see the files that we need. We need an index.html file, and in this right now is just some basic HTML boilerplate, and we need a styles.css file. We're only going to write a small amount of custom CSS, but nonetheless we need the styles.css file. And then we're also going to need the Bootstrap framework CSS file as well. So if we jump over here to Google Chrome, you can go to bootstrap.com, and you can actually either download the file itself and then include it on your own and have it on your local machine if you want to, or you can use one of the versions that they host on a CDN, which just involves you copying and pasting the link. So the current version of Bootstrap that's available is 4.0.0, and it's a beta. So for this tutorial, we're just going to jump down over here to version 3.3.7, and we're going to scroll down, or actually say get started, and then we're going to be able to copy this link here so that we can add the CSS to our project. So all I got to do is copy this, jump over here to our text editor, and then paste it in. It's kind of a long link, but this should give us access to our the files that we need from the Bootstrap CDN, and we should be good to go. The next thing we're going to want to do is actually add in our own custom style sheet. So we're going to say link rel equals style sheet, href equals /styles.css, and we're just going to say type equals text/CSS. So now we should be able to access whatever we put in this style sheet as well. And a couple other things we're going to want to add here. Because Bootstrap is mobile first, what we're going to want to do is ensure that people on mobile devices like cell phones and tablets can view the website in an appropriate manner. So let's go ahead and say meta char set equals UTF-8. And this is basically just saying what the character set we're going to be using is. We're going to say meta http-equuiv equals x-ua-compatible. And we're going to say content equals IE equals edge. And what this meta tag does is basically tells Internet Explorer to load it as if it was using Edge. And then we're going to say meta name equals viewport, content equals width equals device dash width, comma, initial scale equals 1. And this meta tag here, all this does is just basically saying to make this page responsive depending on the width of the device that you're using. So we should be good to go in our header. One exception though, we're going to want to include a title. So let's go ahead and actually put the title down here. It's worth noting that these should be the first things in your header. So let's say title, and we'll just give it a title of our name since it's a personal profile. So should be good to go. Let's just jump over to Google Chrome and refresh this just to be sure. So we can get rid of this. We can get rid of the Bootstrap website, and we can refresh this. And our title shows up here in our tab, and we have no errors or anything like that, so we should be good to go to start developing the rest of the site. So if you're unfamiliar with Bootstrap, Bootstrap actually uses a grid system to lay things out on the page. So you can have 12 columns across, and you can have as many rows down as you'd like. So for this, what we're going to be doing is just having 2 columns and 1 row. And everything in Bootstrap starts with a container, so we're going to include all of our content here within a container. And there are a couple of different container classes that we can use. And in this case, we're just going to say div class equals container dash fluid. And what this does is it just basically gives us a container that'll stretch with the page depending on the size of your monitor or whatever. If you were to just use straight up div class equals container, you would have a centered container pretty much. So within this is now where we're going to be writing the rest of our code for our personal portfolio page. And what we're going to want to do now is include a row. So our row is then going to contain 2 columns. So let's say div class equals row. And within this row now is where we're going to be writing the rest of our code. And we're going to create 2 columns. Let's say div class equals call -md-4. And what this is saying is basically create a medium column using 4 of the 12 blocks. So this is going to be our left column here. And the reason that we're using 4 of the 12 blocks is because we're just going to include our name, some links, and an image. So we don't really need it to be that big. So the next column, let's say div class equals call, and we're going to say -md-8. So we're going to have 8 using 8 of our columns here, or 8 of our blocks. So we have our 4 block column on the left and our 8 block column on the right, and that's going to give us a total of 12 blocks that make up the Bootstrap grid. So now let's work on our left column. So here's where we're going to put our image, we're going to put our name, and our social links. So let's just open this up a little bit. And the first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and include a placeholder image. So we're going to say img src equals, and then in order to grab a placeholder image, what we're going to do is jump over to placeholder.com, and you can copy this link here and basically specify whatever size you want for the placeholder image. So if we jump back over to our text editor and paste in this link, what we're going to do is just make this a 300 by 250 image. I think it's a good size for something like this. So let's just save this and jump back to Chrome just to make sure our image is showing up. And it is. We have our 300 by 250 placeholder image. And then the next thing we're going to want to do now is just include some text. So we're going to go under this and say H2, and we're going to put our name. And the reason I'm using H2 is just so, since it's a personal profile, it's about you, kind of want to make your name pop a little bit. So let's just save this and jump back into Chrome and give it a refresh. And here we have our name. All right, the next thing we're going to want to do is include the social buttons, so links for Facebook, Twitter, things like that. And in order to do this, we're just going to use an anchor tag like you would for a link, but we're going to style it to look like a button. So let's say a class equals btn for button. And with Bootstrap, there are several different button colors you can use. So one of them is called button-primary, and it's just a nice blue color. So let's say btn-primary. And then we're going to apply the button-xs for extra small class as well. And as you would imagine, there are several different sizes you can use for buttons. And then we're going to have to link this button out to something. So for right now, let's just link it out to itself. We're just going to the page, so nothing is going to be linked. And we're going to say role equals button. And just like with any other anchor tag, what we're going to do is give it some text to link. So let's just say Facebook. And let's go ahead and copy this and paste it, since we're going to have a couple of buttons, and just in the interest of saving time. All right, so let's change this to Twitter. Let's change this to maybe Instagram. And finally, let's just link this out to our website or something like that. So if we save this and then jump back into Google Chrome and refresh, you'll notice that now we have our picture, our name, and our buttons. And right now these only link to the page itself. So feel free to go in and add your links to these. So the next thing we're going to want to do now is start working on the right column. So we want to include some text up here and then a body section down here. And in order to do this, let's jump back into Atom and jump back to our column here. And what we're going to do is just add in a paragraph class. So we're going to say P, and we're going to say class equals lead. And the lead class in Bootstrap makes the text a little bit bigger and kind of makes it stand out. So I think it's good for a header or something for a profile page. And let's just quickly close off this paragraph here. So we need some text. So let's jump over to lorem ipsum or lipsum.com, where we can generate just some dummy text here to use. So we'll just quickly copy this first paragraph and jump back into the text editor and paste it between our paragraph tags. All right, so a long line of text here, but should get the job done. So let's save this and let's jump back over to Chrome. And if we refresh, you'll notice that now we have Google Chrome asking us to translate it because it thinks it's Latin. And we have our nice header or lead text up here. So if you remember from the example, we also had some paragraphs down here. So let's go ahead and just add in some paragraphs also using the lorem ipsum text. So I'm just going to copy and paste this because I have this prepared already in the interest of saving some time. But feel free to put whatever you want in there. If you want to include maybe some images or something like that, it's entirely up to you. All right, So let me just make this even. And if we come over here and we refresh, we now have our image, our name, social links, header, and some body paragraph text. And you don't have to stop at just body paragraph text. Maybe you can add in another row within here and add in some more columns. Entirely up to you what you want to do. But this is just for example's sake and to kind of make things a little bit quicker. So let's go ahead and right now add a horizontal rule to this, just so we can kind of separate the header from the body text. So back to our text editor, and between our lead text and our paragraph text, let's just add in HR, save this, jump back into Chrome, and you'll notice that now we have a nice horizontal rule there. Shows up kind of lightly and isn't too obtrusive. So what you'll notice now is that this is kind of aligned to the left side of our page, and in the example we had it centered within this column here. So what we can do is actually jump back into our text editor here and add another div to our web page in order to center this. So we can jump over here to where we have our column on the left side, and we can just say div class equals text dash center. And this is a class that's built into Bootstrap that allows you to center text and other elements too pretty easily. All right, so now let's just go ahead and clean up the spacing on this. All right, so now that everything's cleaned up a little bit, let's go ahead and save this and refresh, and you'll notice that we have our image, our name, and our social links all nice and centered. So the last thing we want to do up here too is that you'll notice that this pushes right up against the top of the screen, and this isn't something that we want because it just kind of, it's a little too much. So what we're going to do is jump back into our text editor, and what we can do now is apply some custom CSS using our styles.css page in order to add some extra margin to the top row. So let's jump into styles.css and create an extra margin class. So we'll just say .extra margin. And what we're going to do is just say margin dash top, and we'll just add in maybe, I don't know, 10 pixels of additional margin. So now we can take this extra margin class and add it to our first or an only row. So we'll just say extra margin. And if we jump back into Chrome and refresh, you'll notice that now we get some extra spacing at the top here, and it just kind of doesn't make this look so bunched up with the top of the browser. So one thing too to take into mind is that these Bootstrap pages are going to be viewed on mobile as well as desktop. So if we were to just jump over here and start pushing this over to see if it works, you'll notice that we do have everything working on mobile, and everything seems to be pretty good here. One thing to note though is that this text is actually kind of close to the buttons, so we can go in and fix that by finding our header section here. And what we can do is we can just add in the extra margin there as well. So now if we jump back into Chrome and refresh on mobile, you'll notice that we have some extra margin there. And if we drag this out to be desktop, you'll notice that everything looks okay. So feel free to play around with this and kind of see what you can do. Maybe try using some of the other classes that are available in Bootstrap and just have some fun, make the page your own. So feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comment section below, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.